I had already rehearsed my exit line 3 times before she even walked through the door. 30 minutes. That's how long I sat alone at a table meant for 2, watching the ice in my water glass melt into nothing, while every waiter who passed gave me that same pitying glance reserved for men who have clearly been stood up. My hands wouldn't stop tapping against the white tablecloth. My phone screen stayed dark. No text. No call. Just the slow, humiliating tick of a clock I couldn't stop staring at. I had convinced myself this was it. The final proof that I was simply someone people forgot to show up for. If you believe in second chances, in the quiet magic of 2 broken people finding each other at exactly the right moment, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me you're watching. Share this with someone who needs a little hope today. And subscribe to Humanity Tales, because this story is about to change the way you see every disappointment in your life. My name is Daniel. I was 34 years old, recently divorced, and if I'm being honest, terrified of trying again. My sister had begged me for months to give this blind date a chance. She's kind, Daniel. She's been through things too. Just give her one dinner. I had agreed mostly to stop her from asking. Sitting there alone, watching the restaurant fill with couples laughing over candlelight, I felt every old wound reopen. The divorce. The nights I sat in an empty apartment wondering what was wrong with me. The quiet fear that I had become a man nobody chooses. I had my jacket half on, my wallet already out to pay for a wine I never got to share, when I heard her voice. Daniel. I turned, and there she was, breathless, apologetic, her cheeks flushed pink from rushing, wearing a red dress that looked like she'd chosen it with far more care than tonight seemed to deserve. Her name was Claire. She didn't sit down right away. She stood there at the edge of the table, her hand pressed to her chest like she was trying to catch not just her breath but her nerve. I am so sorry, she said, and her voice cracked in a way that told me this wasn't rehearsed politeness. My mother called. She's sick, and I didn't know whether to come at all tonight, and then I couldn't find a cab, and I kept thinking you'd already left, and I wouldn't blame you. I should have been angry. 30 minutes is a long time to sit alone in a room full of people who are not waiting for anyone. But something about the way she stood there, unguarded and honest instead of offering some polished excuse, made the anger drain right out of me. I pulled out her chair instead of my coat. She sat down slowly, still catching her breath, and for a moment neither of us spoke. The candle between us flickered against the tablecloth. Then she looked up at me, really looked, the way most people don't anymore, like she was searching for something specific in my face, and she said the words that I would replay in my mind for years afterward. You have kind eyes. I laughed, mostly out of nerves, and told her that was a strange thing to say to a man she just kept waiting half an hour. But she didn't laugh with me. She just kept looking, quiet and certain, and said that after the year she'd had, kindness was the only thing she still knew how to recognize. She told me, in pieces that spilled out faster than she probably intended, that her mother had been fighting cancer for 8 months, that her last relationship had ended when her partner couldn't handle the sick mom and the sad girlfriend, and that she had almost canceled tonight 3 times because she didn't think she had anything left in her worth bringing to a first date. I understood that feeling more than she knew. I told her about my marriage, how it hadn't ended with some dramatic betrayal, just a slow erosion, 2 people who stopped choosing each other one quiet morning at a time, until there was nothing left to save. I told her how I'd started to believe that being left was simply something that happened to me, a pattern instead of an accident. She listened without flinching, without offering hollow comfort, just steady attention, the same way I imagined she must have listened to doctors delivering hard news about her mother. Dinner should have been 30 minutes of awkward small talk to satisfy my sister. Instead, we sat in that restaurant for 3 hours. The waiter refilled our water so many times he eventually stopped asking. We talked about everything and nothing. Her mother's garden that she was terrified would go untended, My father who died when I was 19 and how grief like that reshapes a person permanently. The ridiculous jobs we'd both had in college. The small, stupid things that make people laugh unexpectedly hard. At one point she cried, quietly, telling me about a moment in the hospital when her mother squeezed her hand and apologized for being a burden. I reached across the table without thinking and held her hand until she stopped shaking. I walked her to her car that night, and standing there under a street lamp that buzzed faintly above us, she asked me why I hadn't left when she was late. I told her the truth that somewhere between minute 20 and minute 30, I had already decided I was done waiting for people, done believing I deserved someone's time. But when she walked in, breathless and honest instead of polished and late with excuses, something in me recognized something in her. Two tired people who had both been ready to give up on being chosen, choosing to try anyway. That was 4 years ago. Her mother's cancer went into remission 8 months after that night, and Claire says to this day that she believes some part of her healing began the moment she let herself be vulnerable enough to walk into that restaurant instead of hiding at home. I was there for every chemotherapy appointment after that first date, not because I had to be, but because somewhere in those 3 hours over cold water and untouched wine, I had stopped being a stranger to her family and started becoming a part of it. We got married 18 months later in her mother's garden, the one she had been so afraid would go untended. Her mother walked her down the aisle herself, cancer-free, crying harder than either of us. I stood at the end of that garden path in a suit that didn't quite fit right, watching the two women I had once been terrified to trust with my heart, and I understood something I hadn't understood before that late, chaotic dinner. Sometimes the people who show up 30 minutes late, breathless and imperfect and honest about it, are exactly the ones worth waiting for. We have a daughter now. She's 2 years old and she has her mother's eyes, the kind that search a little too deeply, that notice things other people miss. Sometimes when I watch Claire rock her to sleep in the evening light, I think about that version of me sitting alone at that table, wallet out, jacket half on, ready to walk away from something I didn't even know was coming. I think about how close I came to leaving 5 minutes before she walked in. If this story touched something in you, if you've ever waited for someone, or ever needed someone else to simply not give up on you, please take a moment right now to like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that it's not too late for their story to change too. And before we go, I want you to comment one simple thing for me. Type the words "kind eyes" if you believe some people are worth waiting for, no matter how late they arrive. Because sometimes the moment you're ready to give up is the exact moment life is asking you just a little longer to wait. The end.